The marble floors of the downtown courthouse gleamed under the fluorescent lights, polished to a mirror-like shine. The echo of hurried footsteps filled the hallway as lawyers in tailored suits passed by, clutching briefcases and files. Somewhere in that vast, cold building, the fate of one very public couple was about to take a dramatic turn. Olivia Hartman sat in the small waiting area outside courtroom 7B, her hands resting protectively over the swell of her pregnant belly. She looked pale, exhausted, and far older than her 30 years. The stress of the last 6 months' constant legal battles, endless media coverage, and the emotional weight of a collapsing marriage had taken its toll. She had once been the picture of red carpet glamour beside her billionaire husband, Ethan Hartman. Now she felt like a shadow of herself. Across the hallway, Ethan stood surrounded by his legal team. He was still immaculately dressed, custom navy suit, cufflinks glinting under the lights, a watch worth more than most people's cars. But his face was set in a permanent scowl. The divorce had already turned vicious. Assets, properties, stocks, every detail was being contested. And the fact that Olivia was carrying their child made the fight even uglier. Olivia's attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Dana Lopez, noticed Ethan glancing over with that familiar, cold smile. She leaned down to Olivia and murmured, "Remember, he'll try to provoke you. Don't give him the satisfaction. Let me handle everything inside." Olivia nodded, trying to focus on breathing evenly. But when the clerk called them into the courtroom, tension spiked in the air like static before a storm. The hearing that day wasn't about property division or custodiate, was a procedural matter. But for Ethan, it was another chance to assert his dominance. And for Olivia, it was another battle she had to survive. They entered the courtroom, took their places at opposite tables, and waited for the judge. The press had been barred from the session, but word had already leaked that something big might happen today. A few journalists lingered outside the door, hoping for a glimpse. Halfway through the proceedings, the judge called a short recess. Olivia stood, stretching her legs. Dana was busy sorting through documents. Ethan, instead of stepping away with his lawyers, walked straight toward her. "You think you're going to take half of what I built?" He hissed under his breath, his eyes narrowing. "You think this kid changes anything? You're nothing without me." Olivia tried to step back, but before she could, Ethan's voice rose and then his hand lashed out. The sound of the slap was sharp, echoing in the hushed courtroom. For a moment, everything froze. Olivia's head snapped to the side, a red mark already forming on her cheek. Gasps erupted from the few staff present. But what Ethan didn't realize what would change everything was that Dana had been recording on her phone the entire time. She hadn't planned it for this exact moment. She had simply been documenting Ethan's behavior throughout the divorce, anticipating that his temper might flare. Now she had undeniable proof of physical assault, proof that showed a pregnant woman being struck by her husband in the middle of a courthouse. The bailiff immediately stepped forward, separating them. "Sir, you need to step back," he ordered firmly. Ethan tried to protest, claiming Olivia had provoked him. But his words rang hollow against the visible bruise and the recording already saved in Dana's phone. Within an hour, Dana had filed for an emergency hearing, submitting the video as evidence. The judge, a stern woman named Meredith Cole, recalled both parties to the courtroom that same afternoon. This time, the tension was unbearable. "No one dared whisper." Judge Cole reviewed the video in silence. The room was so still that Olivia could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. When the playback ended, the judge leaned forward. "Mr. Hartman," she began, her voice calm but cutting. "This court has just witnessed an act of physical violence against your wife, who is carrying your child. This is not only morally Reprehensibly is criminal. Ethan's lawyer tried to interject, but the judge silenced him with a raised hand. You are a public figure. You have immense influence. And you have abused that position in the most shameful way possible. Therefore, in addition to the legal consequences that will follow, I am ordering a public apology, one that will be broadcast live. You will admit your actions, acknowledge their wrongness, and commit to seeking anger management treatment. Asterisk, the courtroom buzzed with disbelief. A televised apology was rare, almost unheard of in such cases, but Judge Cole was clear. Actions like yours are often hidden behind wealth and power. Not in my court. This will be seen, and it will be remembered. Asterisk, Ethan's jaw clenched, his pride warring with the reality of the situation. Refusing the order would mean contempt of court, jail time, fines, and irreversible damage to his already shaky reputation. Reluctantly, he agreed. Asterisk, the following week, the broadcast took place. Olivia didn't attend. Dana advised her to stay home, away from the spectacle. But millions watched as Ethan Hartman, billionaire entrepreneur, sat at a desk with cameras trained on him. Asterisk, his voice was tight, his eyes cold. But the words were clear. Last week, I committed an act of violence against my wife, Olivia Hartman, who is pregnant with our child. It was wrong. It was inexcusable. I apologize to her, to our family, and to the public. I will be seeking professional help to address my anger issues. Asterisk, it was hardly heartfelt, but the impact was immediate. The video went viral. Hashtags condemning domestic violence trended. For days. Ethan's business partners distanced themselves. His stock value dipped, and several lucrative deals were quietly canceled. Asterisk, meanwhile, Olivia's life began to shift. She filed for sole custody and secured a restraining order. With Dana's help, she also partnered with a domestic violence awareness charity, using her platform to advocate for other women trapped in abusive relationships. Asterisk, she spoke at events. Her voice steady, her message clear. Wealth does not excuse violence. Status does not justify control. And silence only protects the abuser. Asterisk, months later, the divorce was finalized. Olivia received a fair settlement, but more importantly, she had her freedom and a new sense of purpose. When her daughter was born, she held the tiny newborn close and whispered, "You will never know that kind of fear. I promise." Asterisk, as for Ethan, his empire never fully recovered. The televised apology remained etched in the public memory, replayed in documentaries and news specials. And though he still had money, the shine of invincibility was gone. Asterisk, Olivia didn't care about his downfall. What mattered was that she had survived, and that the truth had been seen. In the end, it wasn't just about her marriage or the divorce. It was about standing up against something that thrives in the shadows and forcing it into the light. Asterisk,